Hello, hello, welcome to the After Hours Gaming League Season 4 B-League playoffs for the round of 16 between Cerner and Qualcomm. If you haven't seen game number 1, game number 2, or game number 3, please be sure to go ahead and check those out as they were quite fantastic. But if you're still around, I'm going to assume you have, and we're going to go ahead and jump in and introduce the players as we spawn up here in the top right-hand side of the map. Way station on top of the purple Zerg player representing Team Qualcomm. It is going to be Qualcomm's Bobo Love Raccoon. Raccoon. I don't know. This sounds like maybe Bobo is this guy in the circus. He has a pet raccoon that he loves very, very much. It's very, very near and dear to him. In fact, actually, maybe the raccoon raised him. But did the raccoon teach him how to play StarCraft? We'll have to find out as we spawn down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map on top of the teal Terran player representing Team Cerner. It is going to be Cerner's Lithium. Currently sitting up 2-1. One game away from taking victory in the series. Will he be able to do it? From Bobo Love Raccoon, we have a 10 pool, I believe. I think this is a 10 pool. Because we had 2 drones start after the spawning pool started. Yes, so it should be a 10 pool, or maybe it was an 11 pool. I don't know anymore, guys, but it is an early pool. Bobo, I keep calling him Bob. I'm just gonna call him Bob. Bob is gonna be going for some early aggression, and this drone over here, scouting very, very early, looking to try and pick off this SUV. Oh, is he going to be able to get it? He had nothing else. He's actually delaying the building of this barracks, which I don't think Lithium actually realizes how much that's going to hurt him. He's sending out another SUV, and it looks like the first Overlord is going to be scouting him out. I mean, he already knows everything, so the Zergling's probably not going to come here in time. This is a very interesting decision to go for a relatively early pool, but not an absurdly early pool, considering he should know that Terran players love to wall off against Zerg players. Like, it's a pretty standard thing to do. So he's going to have to somehow break down that wall, and that's going to be very, very difficult to do. Just because the SCVs could easily come off the line, repair up a supply depot or a barracks while the Marine or Reaper or something gets out, and then it's suddenly not a problem at all anymore. In the meanwhile, Bobo is going to be falling very, very far behind in terms of where his drone count is and everything. His expansion time is going to be late. The Reaper is going to be popping out in a couple of seconds. This drone is actually still amazingly enough alive, as it looks like you really do need that first Reaper or Marine to kill it off effectively. This SCV basically has lost his job at this point. He is a hobo chasing around that drone for mineral donations, but he's not going to get it as the drone now goes up to the 27th story of his yacht or something. His yacht actually has 27 stories. That is right. You heard me correctly. But the Reaper is actually going out. Ooh, this could actually be a little bit nice move from Bobo. Just kind of pressuring the wallet, you're probably not going to do too much, and then the Reaper will go and just pick off every single one of those Zerglings. But instead, we have the Zerglings just sitting behind this natural expansion. Now that the Reaper is out on the map, it's really not too likely to do a whole lot. So maybe he can deny the natural expansion from going down for a little bit of time. But the Reaper is now over here at the natural expansion of Bobo, sees that that hatchery is a little bit delayed, and he might be wondering, like, wait a second, things look a little bit further behind than where you normally should be at this point. I mean, it's a 5-minute mark, and you basically are just now finishing up your natural expansion and getting up a gas geyser. What on earth have you been up to? Honestly, he may even be looking around for a 3rd expansion, but again, you never know. It could just be that your opponent maybe he honestly is not playing that well. It's always a possibility that you have to consider. But Lithium is going to be getting out a couple of those Marines. He's adding on his barracks. He's getting up his starport as well, and getting up a tech lab on the factory. So are we going to be seeing initial Widow Mines come out for Lithium? He's going to be going after this gas geyser. The drone did eventually become a gas geyser, and is going to delay that gas from going down for quite a bit of time. I mean, delaying it until the starport is basically finished up, that is actually a little bit unusual, to say the least. But again, this entire game has been a little bit unusual so far, just with how things sort of opened up and where exactly Bobo, the raccoon lover, is. But at the end of the day, let's take a look at where we're at, okay? We have 25 drones out for Bobo. He's continuing to drone up a little bit, but you have to remember, his gas geyser is delayed. He's only just now mining over here at the natural expansion. Even his queens haven't really gotten a whole lot of crew spread out outside of just the connection between the main base and the natural expansion, although I do like that he has 2 active crew tumors now moving around. At the same time, Lithium sitting at, you know, 22-ish SCVs. And he teched up. Like, he went up to the starport tech, he got up a factory with a tech lab, he got up additional barracks and a tech lab on his barracks. He doesn't have a natural expansion, so I honestly think that right now, we actually have a... oh, wait. Do we have it? Okay, no. He's going to start building that natural expansion. Yeah, I actually think that the Zerg player, Bobo, is actually sitting in a decent position. Because even though he went for that very early pool and really didn't do any damage with it, his opponent didn't really expand. He got up a lot of buildings and hasn't really been able to do a whole lot with it just yet. He may go for some kind of push out, but, I mean, with making the siege tank rather than the widow mines, I think that a push out may be very, very difficult. And actually getting a little bit of supply block, oh man, that's actually very, very painful for a player in this situation. I mean, you want to make sure that you're getting out units as fast as possible. Every single time you get supply block, that means that that building could have actually just yielded you another siege tank or something. And it doesn't, but now we end up having some Marines or trying to fire away at those Zerglings, but the Zerglings going after the SCV, building Natural Command Center, it gets taken out, so not exactly super effective Zerglings, but they do manage to get a scat off, so not the worst thing in the world for Boba. And hey, if he managed to kill off that SCV, that would have been a nice little boon. I thought it might happen with the splash damage from the siege tank, but the siege tank instead just saying, no, I'm a corporal now, and you know what, it's a little bit of friendly fire, and maybe shot my my friendly SCV in the arm, but you know what, he's alive, so no penalties, no penalties. Regardless, more and more Zerglings being produced over here for Bobo. Bobo loves his Zerglings as well as his raccoons. Maybe he thinks that the Zerglings are miniature raccoons, but the Zerglings going to be moving across the map once again. Lithium not going to have any of it. Has a second siege tank out as well as a full wall in coming up. Going to continue to get out more and more of those Marines. Now, he got out the starport a little while ago, and he finally has that first medevac. Does he actually have Stim finish up? No, Stim is just now kind of beginning a little while ago, about 50 seconds ago. And he's not going to have it for a little while. So we could see maybe a siege tank plus Marine push out with Stim and a handful of medevacs. I think at that point, if he continues his unit production on the siege tanks, he should have around like four or so siege tanks, which I think could actually be a pretty strong push out, especially if he has a good number of Marines as well. But it's gonna be really, really tough because when you have the widow mines, you can burrow them after the Zerglings are kind of coming in, and your widow mines can still get off big shots, even if the Zerglings are kind of running past them or running around them. The widow mines can still get off some pretty decent shots because the widow mines oftentimes won't be the first thing focus fired down, and if they are focus fired down, then the Marines are the big DPS. But when you have siege tanks, you want the siege tanks to be getting off the big splash damage hits. They don't do quite as much damage initially, but they obviously fire much quicker. So they eventually get much more damage done, but that means that you have to have a really nice position. Oh my god, actually we're seeing an effective early Doom drop coming out over here from Cerner's Lithium. He's just going and dropping all of his units over in the main base, and he's actually going to be able to siege up the third expansion as well as these two siege tanks. Are they? Oh, he doesn't actually see it. He doesn't know the third expansion is there. Oh, I think that if he got some vision of that, he could actually go after that. But this is a pretty nice position. The Banelings now coming in, searching for hits on those Marines. They get the hits, and they're going to be able to take out these siege tanks as well. The Queen's taking a little bit of damage, but Transfuse fixes that. The single remaining siege tank gets lifted up, and now he gets the spot off on the third expansion and goes, oh man, I just lost my entire army. And my opponent has his third expansion safely secure. Didn't really get any kind of big damage done over there. And now you can see Bobo is sitting up at a comfortable 54 drones on 3 bases. Has his Spire Tech done. Is going up to those Mutalisks. And those Mutalisks could be very, very problematic. Because honestly, the Marine count for Lithium is not very high. 17 Marines out on the map right now. Yeah, they have Stim. Do they have combat shields? I don't actually think they have combat shields done. Let's see. Okay, yeah, they do have combat shields done. By the way, guys, you can actually see the combat shields over there. There's the little shield that he's holding. Let's see if we can get a better angle of it. As Hold, I thought we actually had some engagements going on. That's actually much more important, as it looks like Lithium trying to clear up some of this creep, but man, that is a lot of creep. That's something I have got to hand to Bobo. He has been getting that creep spread on, but these siege tanks are siege up pretty far to the creep, and the Zergling speed, the Baneling speed is just a little bit too much on top of the creep speed, and he is able to clean up those siege tanks, and that is an enormous loss. Constantly losing these siege tanks is not something you can afford to do as a Terran player, and also losing all these Marines, the Noodles now are going to be able to pick off more of these medevacs. Every single medevac that gets picked off, these full energy medevacs, that makes it even more difficult for those Marines to really stim up very effectively. And you can see, yeah, he actually managed to stim up with 2 Marines, but I mean, 2 Marines is not going to be able to do a whole lot against a couple of those Mules. And the Mules, if they start getting into higher and higher numbers, if Bobo is able to keep those Mules alive, he can actually just move in and just stomp all over the Marine count of Lithium. Lithium is really going to need to find some sort of answer, and I'm not sure a Viking is that answer, because honestly, Vikings just don't do that much damage to Mules. Yeah, they have a nice little range that they can kind of harass the Mules away from, but they move so much slower than Mules, and you really just don't do enough damage to justify how many Vikings you'd have to actually get to deal or even harass the Mules as they're harassing your main base. And oh, Reactor may very well get picked off over here. It does finally get picked off. The Vikings try and deal a little bit of damage, but look at this. I mean, they're barely really even kind of scratching these Mules. The Mules do have, of course, that tissue regeneration thing that they got in Heart of the Swarm that does allow them to regenerate that health rather quickly. And again, it negates that Viking damage pretty gosh darn well, but more and more barracks being added on him over here for Lithium. He needs a lot of Marines, and it looks like he's just going to continue to get them by adding on as many barracks as possible. He's starting to flood quite a few minerals as well, so adding on those barracks will help him spend that money. Do we actually have any more Mules really being produced over here for Bobo? No, it doesn't look like. He's getting up a 4th expansion and getting up that Hive Tech, so really kind of interesting. Going straight for the Hive Tech, it looks like we may just very well see with the melee attacks upgrades coming out. I'm expecting to see some Ultras maybe come out, and honestly, Ultras will just, they'll kind of come in over here after the Banelings blow up this wall, and they're just going to stomp all over everything. Siege Tanks, yeah, good luck against the Ultralists. Marines, yeah, good luck with the cleave damage against those Ultras. It is going to just decimate them, but I'm not even sure if it's actually going to come to that situation right now. The Mules now coming in over here. They're picking up a couple of these Marines. They're not exactly taking the most favorable engagement, but honestly, he has enough Mules at this point that it's not really going to matter. Every single unit that he picks off is going to make it even more and more difficult for him to hold against Bobo's big push-in that he can do with all of these Banelings. He's starting to build up. He's already sitting at a comfortable little, 8 plus 6. Yeah, 14 Banelings. I can do math on stream, guys. And that's more than enough to break down this wall and still even have a couple left over to try and get some nice juicy connections on those Marines. Is Lithium going to be able to come up with some sort of amazing, miraculous defense? The Siege Tank is going to definitely help out. If he can get some nice shots off on those Banelings with the Siege Tank and stop them from immediately busting down the wall in, that could actually work and help him a little bit. If he also has SCVs maybe repaired while also taking out those Banelings in time, he could also maybe hold on. But the big issue right now is that he needs to do more than just trade evenly or even just hold on, because right now we have Bobo just kind of spiraling out of control, picking off Missileters, picking off a Siege Tank, now going to be going after those Vikings and forcing out a stim from almost every single Marine that Lithium has. This is a little bit painful to watch right now. And at least he has some nice upgrades, 1-1 upgrades on those Marines, but even the Mules have +1 weapons, and honestly, the Zerglings and everything, they're getting the +1/+1 already finished up, and Adrenal Glands on the way. Greater Spire actually going to be the unit of choice for Bobo, so it looks like he may even just be waiting around for that Greater Spire to finish up before he goes to the push-in with the Broodlords. And honestly, I'm not sure that Lithium has enough to really deal with that. The Viking count is going to help out. Now those Vikings are really actually going to be useful against the Greater Spire, as I mean, they're not as amazing against the Mules, although it looks like the Viking count is actually getting up to a decent enough size that they can start killing off those Mules. But look at this, Zerglings and Banelings coming in over here. There's nowhere to run for these Marines. They get picked off. The Mule is going to reign supreme in the air as they're going to pick off the remainder of these Vikings. So the Vikings picked off, nothing is going to stop these Mules from wreaking havoc, as well as these Zerglings and the Banelings. And if that's not enough, then the Broodlords are going to be following it up behind this. Marines eating up the Banelings for breakfast, and it's not exactly the same way that you would normally want to eat your breakfast. It's more like the breakfast is eating you. And, oh man, I think that this is going to likely be it, folks, as the final remaining Siege Tank is going to get picked off. The Baneling's looking for the juicy connections on the SCVs. I'm not sure if it's even going to matter, though, as let's get a zoom in on this Baneling hit that's going to be coming up. Oh, the SCVs are going to be running, but I'm not sure if it's actually going to matter. They get some decent hits over here, and the main base is being ravaged. GG is going to get called. Lithium going to have to tap out. And Bobo loves Raccoon. Gonna go, oh, there we go, up to 2-2, tying up the series, bringing it to the 8th match, game number 5. We're gonna go ahead and jump into that game and see who is gonna come out victorious, Cerner or Qualcomm. Who is gonna be able to move on to the round of 8? Only one way to find out, guys. I will see you guys in just a second.